We often hear the idiom, timing is everything, as well as being in the right place at the right time. Well, you could say that's exactly what happened to me. Here's my story. In October 2012, the Chicago Jazz Philharmonic team is on a research project with River North Dance in Havana, Cuba. We were researching for our collaboration, Havana Blue. But my personal mission as composer was to be inspired by Cubans, that the music I would write would be the soundtrack for the people I would meet and the musical expressions we would share together. The Havana Blue collaboration was music meets dance. It was visual, but dance was the melody, inspired by River North choreographer Frank Chavez, who is Cuban. Frank left Cuba when he was an infant to come to Chicago with his family, so this trip was very important to him to discover his Cuban roots. But I, on the other hand, wanted to discover my African roots through Cuba. One of the stops on our people-to-people exchange program was the Universidad de las Artes, or ISA, Cuba's premier performing arts university, akin to our Juilliard here in the States. However, on this particular day, there were no ensembles rehearsing, which is what I really wanted to hear. There were only general music classes, private lessons, and individuals who were practicing, one of which was a young trumpeter named Silvano. So I introduced myself as a jazz trumpet player from Chicago, and it just so happened he was in the middle of practicing Clifford Brown and Miles Davis ideas. Of course, I had to play with him. As Silvano and I shared ideas, it turned into a lesson where he was teaching me and I was teaching him. That lesson turned into a jam session as other students raced to the room. Piano players, saxophone players, drummers, bass players, guitar players, and even vocalists. The jam session turned into a class, and that experience left such an impression that we knew we would return. And return we did, thanks to the MacArthur Foundation. In December 2014, 5 Chicago Jazz Philharmonic musicians, our staff, and production team went back to Cuba to present a concert at the Havana Jazz Festival with 60 students from ISA. In the week preceding the concert, we presented workshops, master classes, and rehearsed to prepare for the performance. The students of ISA are classically trained exclusively. Their level of musicianship is incredibly high. Inherent in their cultural roots is what I call a Cuban sensibility, and it readily connects with jazz in terms of rhythm, adaptability, tenacity, and fearlessness. At the first rehearsal, we broke the ice by playing a blues, but only 2 students would solo. The rest were very shy until we played Orlando's Walk. Then over 15 students volunteered to improvise, many for the first time, and much of what they played, they learned from each other. A student who wasn't shy at all was Beatriz, one of 10 high school students who performed with us. Let's see what she had to say.
My name is Beatriz Arias. I'm 17 years old. I'm on my 3rd year in Nacional de Alta, and my instrument is the violin.
We are very thankful that you are taking the time from your holiday vacation to be part of this collaboration between ISA and Chicago Jazz Philharmonic. And so we want to know what motivated you to decide to be part of this special project.
My motivation was to exchange in different countries and play and learn about jazz and other popular music besides classical, which is what we interpret at school. This orchestra makes very good music. What impressed me was that everyone plays very well and make really good jazz. Another highlight was the Cuban jazz we all improvised on and exchanged solos. Very good.
You're very impressive when you improvise. And so is this something that you get to do often, or is this something you've been practicing? Is this, that was something that was very special to us and that we don't see a lot in the United States, especially from violin players.
I didn't learn the improvising at school. It was mainly from my father, who plays the tres, and he improvises, so he was like my school for improvisation. But I have never done this before. That was all the inspiration in the moment.
One of my favorite moments was when Wendy sang Misty. It was her first time singing in English. But that's just what I want you to do. But that's just what I want you to do. After our first rehearsal, the school administration was so impressed with how their students responded to our process and methodology that they offered us positions at the university, defining our work as the launch of a new third stream program at ISA. Though the opportunity of teaching and working with the ISA students would be a hopeful ambition, I informed them that our two governments would never allow it. That was Tuesday. This was Wednesday.
Today, the United States of America is changing its relationship with the people of Cuba. In the most significant changes in our policy in more than 50 years, we will end an outdated approach that for decades has failed to advance our interests, and instead, we will begin to normalize relations between our two countries.
Being in Cuba during this historic moment landed us a special segment on 60 Minutes with Scott Pelley. That's right, timing is everything. That Friday's performance for the Havana Jazz Festival was a smashing success. The students of ISA became Chicago Jazz Philharmonic. The entire community, parents, university staff, and lovers of jazz were there to support our efforts. On Sunday, we met with the president and dean of ISA to discuss possibilities for a future collaboration and what such a relationship could mean for the new diplomacy between the United States and Cuba. This is the face of the new US-Cuba relationship.
That the Cuban people are very grateful, are very happy for what he did today, or what they did today, Obama and our presidents. The most important thing is the friendship among us, between us, Cuba and the United States. God bless the friendship, God bless Obama, God bless Raul, and God bless the Cuban and American people. God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you.